Okay, let's unpack this. We're talking about a fossil, right? A human skull that's basically been a scientific puzzle for, what, over 60 years?
That's right, the Petralona cranium, found way back in a cave in Greece.
And it's super important for understanding, how humans evolved in Europe. But the problem was...
the age. Nobody could pin it down. Estimates were all over the map, like 170,000 years ago, all the way up to 700,000, a huge difference.
Yeah, and not just the age, but where it actually was in the cave originally. That was a mystery too, wasn't it? Added another layer of confusion.
Exactly. So our mission today really is to dig into how some new science has finally given us a solid minimum age for this fossil.
Okay.
And it's thrown up some pretty surprising stuff about our ancestors, potentially changing how we see human diversity back then.
So what was the big game changer? After all that time, all those different guesses, what finally cut through the noise?
It boils down to a technique called U-series dating. Think of it like analyzing the radioactive decay in materials to get their age.
Right, uranium dating.
Yeah, but the key thing here, the really crucial part, was what they dated. They analyzed the calcite, that sort of stony deposit that grew directly on the skull itself.
Not just stuff nearby in the cave.
Precisely. That direct sample was the only way to get really critical age info tied straight to the cranium.
And the answer? After 60 years, what's the number?
The results are pretty rock solid now. A minimum age of 286 9,000 years ago. We often shorten that to Ka.
286 Ka plus or minus 9. Okay.
So that firmly plants it in the Middle Pleistocene. That's, that key period from roughly 770,000 down to about 129,000 years ago.
That's definitely tighter than 170 to 700K, much more useful. But why trust this date more than the older ones? And you mentioned it solved the other mystery, too, about where it was stuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other fascinating bit. This new dating cleared up that old idea that the cranium was sort of cemented to the cave wall, what they call the mausoleum wall. The calcite on the skull, the stuff dated to 286 Co. It's completely different, geologically speaking, from the calcite on the wall itself. That wall calcite is way older, around 510 Co.
Whoa, okay, so they're not from the same time at all.
Not even close. It shows two totally separate times when calcite formed. Like finding, I don't know, a modern sticker on an ancient Roman pot. They weren't put there together.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting then. So if it wasn't cemented to that old wall, how did it end up in that mausoleum spot?
Well, the dating gives us two main possibilities now. Either it did get attached to the wall somehow, but much, much later than we thought, sometime between roughly 539 and 277 Ka. Or maybe it was never attached at all. It could have just been, deposited there, maybe washed in, maybe just left there sometime between 410 and 277 Ka.
So it completely reshuffles how we picture the scene where it was found.
It does. And morphologically, looking at the skull's shape, it's clearly different. It belongs to a group that's, more primitive than us, Homo sapiens, and also distinct from Neanderthals.
Any other fossils, it looks like?
Interestingly, yeah. It bears a close resemblance to the cowboy cranium, which was found way down in Zambia. That hints at potentially broader connections, maybe across continents, for these kinds of ancient humans.
So if we connect this new age, this 286 Kata date, to the bigger picture, what does it tell us about human evolution in Europe back then?
Well, it strongly suggests that this Petralona-type population was around at the same time as the lineage that was evolving into Neanderthals, particularly in that later Middle Pleistocene period, around 300,000 years ago.
So not just one group replacing another.
Exactly. It points to at least two different evolutionary lines coexisting in Europe. You had groups like Petralona and maybe Mauer and Malabolonica fossils, too, that don't show those specific Neanderthal features.
Right.
And they were living alongside other groups, like the ones found at Cima de los Huesos in Spain, which do show early Neanderthal traits. It was a much more diverse, complex landscape than a simple straight line.
So bringing this decades-long debate about the Petralona cranium to a, maybe not a close, but certainly giving it much firmer ground, it paints a clearer and maybe more complicated picture of ancient Europe.
Absolutely. So what does this all mean for you listening? I think it really highlights how nailing down the timeline for just one fossil can totally reshape our understanding of the bigger evolutionary story.
Yeah.
It reveals this past where you had these complex parallel lines of human relatives developing, not just a simple path leading straight to us.
Which definitely raises an important question, doesn't it? What other long-standing mysteries about our origins are just sitting there waiting for the right new tools or maybe just a fresh look to unlock them?